Welcome to the Love Spark podcast. My name is Tonya Mavaros, a relationship consultant and coach. I utilize information and tools backed by years of research with my clients to help them deepen connection and strengthen their relationship.
And I'm Stevi Mavaros, Tanya's wife and a dedicated lifelong learner and advice giver.
Our podcast aims to bring relationship resources to all couples by not only telling you what they are, but by completing activities together in real time so you can hear them put into practice.
In addition, we'll also be interviewing real couples to learn more about their story, how they've handled conflict, managed difficult moments, and discuss the biggest successes they've celebrated.
We hope you enjoy and find us a valuable learning tool for you, your partner, or future partner. Let's get started. Disclaimer: this podcast discusses sensitive topics that listeners may find activating. Listening discretion is advised. Good morning, my love.
Good morning.
Welcome back to another episode of the Love Spark podcast, where we are going through materials. Right now, we are in the season of the 7 principles for making marriage work. We are doing all the activities, and today's chapter is chapter 4, Enhance Your Love Maps.
Yes, chapter 4, but actually principle 1, right?
Yes. Okay. So thank you for pointing that out. That is very, very important to recognize that if you are just catching this podcast, episodes 1 through 3 really are the beginning of the book, where they talk about the failure rate of marriages, what makes marriages fail, the 6 signs to a failing marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So those things are very important.
Yeah, it gives a little bit of background on the research and how the efficacy was found.
Yeah. And it's important to think about too, that if you're a person that's like, as I quite frequently am, is like, I don't need all that. Just give me the details. I want to know how to do it. It is actually very important to understand the downfall before we can understand the building process.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a lot easier to build when you know what mistakes to avoid, right?
Yes.
Anyway, so now we are on principle 1.
Principle 1, enhance your love maps.
Yes.
One thing at the beginning, I think it was actually maybe the first episode, we had talked about our distaste for the word friendship and relationship. And we were like, well, what does that exactly mean? And I did find a small definition in the book, but the workbook actually defines says how Dr. Gottman defines friendship, which is 1, deep, richly detailed love maps, 2, a strong fondness and admiration system, and 3, regular turning toward your partner's bids for emotional connection. So this is how we define the foundation of a strong relationship, which is friendship. Okay. But before we dive into our activities, we, of course, have some things to share.
Indeed.
Now, if you're a person that likes to be like, get to the details, give me the meat and potatoes, too bad. You have to hear these things because they are important and relevant. And that's
being said to you by a person with very little to no patience.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you recognizing that.
It's hard not to.
So the chapter 4, principle 1, opens with the story of Rory, a pediatrician. And I'm going to read this word for word because when I remember the first time that I read this book, my mind was completely blown. I was like, shut the F up. This is not possible. But yet here we are. Rory was a pediatrician who ran an intensive care unit for babies. He was beloved at the hospital, where everybody called him Dr. Rory. He was a reserved man, but capable of great warmth, humor, and charm. He was also a workaholic who slept in the hospital on average 20 nights a month. He didn't know the names of his children's friends or even the name of the family dog. Just let that sink in. He didn't even know the name of the dog. When he was asked which room led to the house's back door, he turned to his wife, Lisa. His wife was upset over how little she saw Rory and how emotionally disconnected he seemed to be. She frequently tried to make little gestures to show him that she cared. Her attempts just annoyed him. She was left with the sense that he simply didn't value her or their marriage.
Insanity.
I really didn't think that was possible for something for a person to be like that. Like I really that never actually even crossed my mind, even coming from a relationship where somebody was disconnected. Like, but when I read and when it was like he didn't know his children, his the friends of his children, he didn't know their names, right? I was like, oh, that's kind of shitty, but like I guess I could see that. But then when I got to he didn't even know the name of the dog.
Yeah. You know, it's really interesting because I remember very early on in our relationship, I was talking to you about, I think, a friend of mine, and you were like, "Oh, your friend Carly?" And like you knew who I was talking about, even though I hadn't specified.
Hmm.
And I was so thrown, so thrown by that because in my previous relationship, I had been with my partner for 3 years, and she still didn't know the difference between my sister Kelsey and my friend Kristen because they're both K names. So, like, how is she even supposed to keep track?
I actually
Right? But that's such a good example of this of like she didn't know because she didn't care to know. She had no interest in using any intellectual capacity to pay attention to those things.
yeah, I did find it very fascinating that you were so surprised by that. And then I think too, I can't remember if no, we were not getting ready for me to meet your family, but I remember that you had talked about them frequently. And I remember being like, okay, so Kelsey is this one who's dating Christian,
Yeah.
and Joyce is this one who's dating, was he a Kyle?
No, that's she's dating Kyle now.
Oh, whoever the other boyfriend was.
Jose.
No, not that one. Before that one.
Brandon?
Yes. We don't even remember him because he was such a dick and I never met him. I'm just saying by stories. But like,
Oof.
I just remember when you were talking about your family and I would try to equate who they were with who they were dating or what was going on in their life
Yeah.
is like still how surprised you were by that. And I'm like, but why wouldn't I do that? Those are people that matter to you.
Well, you weren't even just listening and paying attention. You were like genuinely trying to learn who the people in my life were. Which, after basically only talking about 3 or 4 people because I was so isolated in my last relationship and spending 3 years talking about 3 or 4 people that my partner couldn't even distinguish from each other because she didn't care to going to a relationship where my partner is like, okay, let me diagram your family so that I can make sure that I get this all correct because it is complex. Like, that is a huge change
Yeah,
because
that's
you
fair.
do have a detailed love map for me, but my ex, no, not at all. So I've definitely been in those relationships
Hmm.
with the Dr. Rorys of the world. That's and
Crazy.
I will say, being a person who is highly attracted to extremely driven and ambitious individuals, it's something I run into.
That's weird.
It's weird for you because you are a very balanced person and a very
Yeah, that's fair.
well-rounded person, but a lot of people don't balance as well. A lot of people are workaholics or do put most of their focus into one specific area of their life. Sometimes that's just the kids. Sometimes a wife won't know anything going on in her husband's life because she's so involved in the kids and the
That's fair.
extracurriculars and
That's very fair.
and taking the family dog to the vet and
Yeah,
all the other things that she has no idea who her husband's playing golf with on Saturday.
that's fair.
you
And
know
I think when I think about it, right, like one of the things when we first started dating, I said was, if you can't handle my ambition, then we can't be together. And I am a very ambitious person. I have very big goals
Yeah,
and
you
dreams.
are.
And but the one thing that I always keep in perspective to that is that it doesn't mean anything if I can't share it with the people that I care most about,
Right.
right? And if I can't remember anything about your family,
Mm-hmm.
or if I can't remember who your friends are, well, does that tell you that I care? And if I can't remember those things, and if it doesn't tell you that I care and you don't feel like I care, then how long are you going to stick around?
Right.
And so then what is the point of doing all of these big things for us if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
maintaining the us? You know what
Yes.
I mean?
Well, that's because the us is important to you also, though.
That's fair.
It wasn't important to my ex. But I think that this is a very good, if you are not married and you are only dating and this is a problem, really consider that.
That's
Really
true.
consider whether or not the partner that you have is interested in having a detailed love map for you, you know?
As we know, it is one of the 7 principles that makes
hmm
relationships work.
Well, we haven't even said what a love map is yet,
Okay, we'll
actually.
get there. Okay,
We got to get back into we got to get more into what we're doing here.
fair enough. Okay. Move
Sorry,
it.
we do get sidetracked.
But that's
I'm
the
going to
thing though,
blame your
right? Like we
ADD.
do get sidetracked, but at the same time, these are conversations that I think are important and helpful because it also puts real life context
Mm,
into talking about these things, which is
true,
why we're doing
true.
this in the first place.
Absolutely.
So the next thing that I'm gonna share out of the book, we talked about Dr. Rory, right?
Mhm.
And basically he's talking about, so really what makes a relationship work is that he defines a very good relationship as an emotionally intelligent relationship. This is the key point to all the 7 principles, is that this is helping you create emotional intelligence within your relationship, right?
Yes.
And so, what he says is, in contrast, emotionally intelligent couples are intimately familiar with each other's worlds. I call this having a richly detailed love map. My term for that part of your brain where you store all relevant information about your partner's life. Another way of saying this is that these couples have made plenty of cognitive room for their marriage. They remember major events in each other's history and keep updating their information as facts and feelings of their spouse's world change.
Yes.
Without such a love map, you can't really know your spouse. And if you don't really know someone, how can you truly love them? No wonder the biblical term for sexual love is to know.
Indeed. Yes. Cognitive room. That's and that's what I was referring to when I said that some people put all of their focus into one specific area of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's very easy to put all your focus into a partner when you're in the dating phase of your life, right?
Yeah.
What else are you doing? That nothing. You're trying to get in somebody's pants. That's what you're doing, right?
And it works.
You're trying to create a partnership.
And it works so often. Yes, please.
Ma'am, focus. Not talking about last night.
Focused.
But I think that you totally threw
I
me.
do
So
apologize.
rude.
I do apologize.
Yeah, people put so much of their focus and energy onto obtaining a partner, but you forget that you have to continue to leave cognitive space to maintain that partnership.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to just move on from, I've put all my focus into this partnership. Now I can put all my focus into just my kids. Now I can put all my focus into training this new puppy we have. Now I can put all my,
Yeah.
I mean, there are a number of things, a new job, new house, whatever, new hobby. There are plenty of things that can distract you and will distract you in life. And you don't maybe need as much cognitive space once you've established a relationship as you do while you're establishing, but you always have to leave that space for your partner. So if you don't leave cognitive space for your partner, then you're not leaving, you're basically pushing them out of your life at that point.
That's a very good point to that. If you're not leaving the space, you're essentially pushing them out.
Yes.
I did have a thought, not connected to cognitive space in any way, shape, or form, but I wonder if maybe on some unconscious level, this is why love bombing feels so gross. Is
Mm,
because when you think about what love bombing
because it's kind of
is, it's
generic.
very generic and there's no emotional connection that's happening, right? Some people, it works for some people, but I think that in a general context of society, people associate love bombing with disingenuousness. And I think that might be why, is because there is no cognitive space to know this person. It's just about getting the person.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like that's the difference between, Instagram love and an actually like meaningful moment,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it might. look great because that's the cliche thing, but is it special and unique to you and your partnership?
Truth.
You know,
Truth.
and I mean, not to say that everything has to be super unique. Like, a lot of people like candles. That doesn't mean you can't give a candle to your partner and it not be special.
But it would be even more special if you took your partner to make a candle that was specifically scented for them. Just saying.
You're so extra. I fucking love you for it. But in any case, yes.
Okay. So then the book goes on to say there is knowledge and strength.
Well said.
Stop. Take, for example, one of the major causes of marital dissatisfaction and divorce, the birth of the first baby.
Mm.
67% of couples in our newlywed study underwent a precipitous drop in marital satisfaction the first time they became parents. But the remaining 33% did not experience this decline. In fact, about half of them saw their marriages improve.
Mm.
What separated these two groups? You guessed it. The couples whose marriages thrived after the birth had detailed love maps from the get-go, according to the study of 50 couples by my student, Allison Shapiro. These love maps protected their marriages in the wake of this dramatic upheaval because husband and wife were already in the habit of keeping up to date and were
Mm.
intently aware of what each other was feeling and thinking. They weren't thrown off course. But if couples don't start off with a deep knowledge of each other, it's easy for marriage to lose its way when life shifts so suddenly and dramatically.
Mm.
I
Mm.
I really like that they pointed that out because I think sometimes that and I do remember I think he dived a little bit deeper into that particular scenario within couples a little bit further in the book. But when you really think about it, right? Everybody's so excited about the baby and they're preparing for the baby and all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really think about it, you both of you as an entire people completely change. You are
Mm-hmm.
no longer just you. Now you're you and a parent. And
Right.
now the way that you think about life changes because you are now a parent. And so I like that he really points out about the love maps
Mm-hmm.
and how important it is to have that before having babies. But also, that brings me to the whole point of why we're doing this, right?
Well, before you get into the why we're doing this, I just want to nitpick one particular word in what you just read, which is habit. Couples already in the habit of checking in with each other,
Mm-hmm.
right? It should be a habit. And we know that, like, the birth of a baby, it can throw a lot of your habits off, but if you are able to if you're able to prioritize which habits you have to maintain, that needs to be one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in any case, I just wanted to throw that in there specifically about newborns, because obviously a lot of habits change, but it's easier to stick to a habit that's already established
Mm-hmm.
in that than, if it's just something that you're not habitually doing, it's very difficult to make time for something
Yeah.
in that, very tumultuous, huge life change moment.
Very true. What I was going to say is that one of the reasons that we're doing this is because we are in a good space.
Mm,
And the
mm-hmm.
point to doing this when you feel like you're in a good space is it helps you build the skills and the tools for when the rocky times happen, which we did cover in one of the previous chapters.
Right.
Right? It's like like the example that I give to a lot of people when I talk about doing the work as a couple
Mm-hmm.
or even doing the work in finances, right? You don't try to build a budget and stick to a budget during the holidays.
No.
That is insanity. Let's be honest. It is a hot mess of a time for everybody's wallets.
Mm-hmm.
But if you build the budget and stick to the budget from the beginning of the year, when we
Makes the
get to the
holidays.
holidays,
Mm-hmm.
sticking to the habits is so much easier. And so that's why doing the work before we're in crisis or before we're in on the rocky road, and I'm not talking the ice cream. This is why we do that, is because when you get there, falling back on these skills will be
Mm-hmm.
easier.
Right. And just like if you're budgeting throughout the year, you should be better prepared and ready to handle the extra holiday expenses. Just like if you do this work when you're in a good place, that's good preparation for when crisis hits. Because guess what? Life is not smooth all the time. And a parent will die, a pet will die, a family member will stir up drama, a job will, irritate your very soul. So many things will happen in life. If you're not in a place of crisis, take the opportunity to prepare yourself
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have to worry about,
Yeah.
you know, think of it as think of your love map as your relationship emergency fund.
Fair. I like it. Okay. So one of the things it talks about is keeping your love maps updated, right? Th- The other thing about what we're doing is keep in mind that this can be applied to everything. So a
Mm-hmm.
good example of this is that I love my mother and she's fabulous, but my mother still buys me sweary gifts as if I'm still 14. Now, granted, I still curse a lot. Okay. I do.
Mm-hmm.
And I love a good pair of sweary socks from Bad Annie's. But like some of the things that she gets me, I'm like, I don't know if I would use that in public, but thank you. And I don't think I'd even
Right.
use that at home.
Yeah.
And I love and appreciate the sentiment, but sometimes I feel like I wish she would update her love map of me as a person or update
Yeah.
herself, update how she views me as her child.
Absolutely.
So it's one of the things I'm very cognizant of when it comes to Kieran is to try to keep updating the fact that he's not my little person that
He's
likes to hold my hand when he's upset.
he's a grown person now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So on to the details. So the first activity in the book
Mhm.
asks us to take a quick 5-question quiz, true or
Mhm.
false, if you know all these specific things about your partner. All 1 through 5 were true for me.
Same.
Okay.
Yes.
So do we want to read these questions? No. Want to skip them? Let people
We
find them for themselves?
we can skip them, but
Okay.
I do want to make a comment that
Yes.
if you have the workbook, you have the opportunity to get the workbook. I highly suggest just making it a like an anniversary activity to at least go through some of these questions, right?
Yeah.
Because do you notice if your partner's favorite color changed over 15 years? Well, not if you didn't ask,
Thank you.
right? So like it's easy to forget
Mm-hmm.
how much the little things can change
Uh-huh.
and how easy it is to lose track of those things.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great, I mean, we kind of do this on a regular basis anyway,
Yeah,
where
we
we
do.
will find questions to ask each other to kind of check back in and reestablish this knowledge. But
Yeah.
certainly, even if you've done this before, highly encourage doing this on a more regular
I
basis.
mean, depending on your philosophies, right? You're
Hmm.
not the same person that you were yesterday, and you're not going to be the same person tomorrow as you were today.
Truth.
But also, on average, the quote is that people change every 5 years. That
Yeah.
you are significantly changed after 5 years. So I think that's important. Okay. So we actually some of these activities we can do in real time because that's kind of what they are.
Yeah.
So exercise 1, love map
Hmm.
20 questions game. We're not going to ask all 20 questions because we do realize there are time constraints. It says, so here are the rules. Play this game together in the spirit of laughter and gentle fun. The more you play and the more you'll learn about the love maps concept and how to apply it to your relationship. Remember, this is a chance to deepen your love map and is meant to be fun. This is not competitive for my ultra competitive people, including myself. Be gentle when correcting your partner's answers. Instructions. Read the first question aloud. Answer the question the way you think your partner would answer. Your partner will then provide gentle feedback. If the answer is obvious, no further discussion takes place. If your answer is wrong, your partner will respond with the correct answer and explain why. You may ask follow up questions to deepen understanding. This provides an opportunity to learn more about each other. For the second question, follow the same instructions but switch roles. Continue to alternate roles as you move through the questions together. If a question touches on a sensitive subject, we suggest that you create a ground rule that either partner can choose to pass. No questions asked.
Okay, so you wanted to pick a few.
So it says start at the top, but we can just go through it randomly if you would like as well.
Absolutely.
We're
Did
good.
you want to pick the first question?
Okay, so we're gonna pick. We're not gonna go top. Okay.
Well, I don't care.
Okay.
Did you want to go top to bottom?
No, let's just pick a random one. Okay.
Basically, make up the rules as you want.
No, only for this process, just because we're short. We're only not going to do all 30 questions. There's 30 questions, by the way. Okay.
Well, let's just follow the instructions then. Do you want to start?
Okay, go ahead.
Who are my two closest friends? I said it out loud, so I guess I should answer what I think you would say.
Yes.
Okay. Who are your two closest friends?
Oh, this is going to be good.
I would say Allie and Rachel. I would say you probably spend the most social time with Allie. You guys are pretty good about getting together really regularly, but I think that you in the short time that you've known Rachel, you guys have clicked so well that I think you have a deeper friendship with her than you do with most of your other friends.
That's very true. Very true.
So I was right?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, there's very few people to choose from, quite honestly.
Sure.
I have a lot of surface level friends and acquaintances, but I don't actually have a lot of close friends because I'm very, very selective about the people that I let into my inner world, which is odd because we do share a lot of information via the podcast as like teaching material and learning tools for others. But like,
well, we're very open people. That doesn't mean that we necessarily are spending a ton of time socializing or building close.
Spend a significant amount of time socializing, but like, I think on there's just a difference for me. Whatever it is, there's just a difference on closeness. Actually, take the friendship concept, right?
True.
What would they know about me and my personal love maps to be able to share? So yeah,
fair.
Very good. Question 2. What is my favorite musical group, composer, or instrument? Ah, Christ.
I'm gonna change the question for you.
Just let me answer it the way that it is, and then you can change it. Okay, so I know that your favorite instrument is a cello. So, like, you love the sound of a cello. Your favorite composer is Vivaldi. Your favorite musical group, I would feel like that's a really hard one because you like so many different acts and groups. And the only ones that are coming to mind are the things that we have maybe seen or done together, like black violin. But I also know that, like, I think you're a big System of a Down fan as well.
I am a huge System of a Down.
You like a little bit of more harder rock than I do. So I don't really have a favorite musical group for you, if I'm honest.
I don't have a favorite musical group, so fair. I was going to change the question to what genre of music have I been listening to the most currently?
You listen to a lot of everything, but you have been listening to more hard rock when you're taking a shower or upstairs in the bathroom getting ready. But then also you have been listening to more, is it called techno? Or house,
you could call it techno.
Whatever the fuck they call that nowadays.
EDM.
Yeah, thank you. See, back in the day, it was techno, and it was somehow house, and now it's EDM.
But like for me, that's a more appropriate question because I'm listening. Like I go through phases of listening to. Like when we met, I was in a huge Harry Belafonte radio phase, and now I'm like on System of a Down radios. Quite.
But you were also in a big Post Malone phase.
Oh yeah, I was listening to a lot of Post Malone too.
So hot. His first couple of albums were really good.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. That was actually really solid, baby.
Thank you.
That was really good. You answered those questions better than I would have answered those questions for me.
2 more?
Okay.
Okay.
What stresses am I facing right now? Well, I know that right now you're a little stressed over time because you have so much schoolwork to do. I mean, would you agree with that? That like you're a little stressed over time just because the class you're taking is very
intense.
I was going to say time consuming, but I think labor intensive is what I mean because there's so much reading that you have to do.
Oh, God, the reading.
Yeah. So not that you're in a constant stress about it, but I feel like that is a stress that comes up a lot for
Mhm.
you right now.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah, stresses. I mean, I think that's the biggest stress. I
yeah.
I think the
I think you have a bunch of other annoyances, but I'm not sure you have a lot of stresses other than, you know,
well, a
the
time
fact that
is
you are a parent and that is just
I mean, that doesn't really actually stress me out, and it's not stressing. It just depends on the day and the situation. I think the
fair.
other biggest stress that I have is the internal conflict
Mm,
of what I want to be doing and what I have to do. And while I
yes.
know that it isn't actually like a daily stress, it is a underlying level of stress
Yes.
daily.
Yes.
Right? So like I have to be working at the job that I'm working at right now.
Mhm.
What I want to be doing is running this business full time and not
Yes.
working at that job right now. So
Yes.
and I think it's
So fair.
the
Oh my god, same. I mean, but not the business, just
yeah.
I mean, I'll help.
Yeah. And I think that's a stressor because to me, it feels in conflict with my
Mm,
values.
yeah, you're out of alignment.
I'm out of alignment. Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. For you, who is my favorite relative? Who is my favorite relative?
What's so funny about that, honey?
Oh, God.
Does it have to be an alive relative?
I mean, that's where I was going. But if we are including
But
the
you're like really scratching the bottom of the barrel right
if
now.
we are including the deceased, it would be your grandma Lois.
Happy.
Uh, if we're talking about a living relative, if I had to pick one,
Mm,
God, there's different reasons why I'd pick different people.
that's fair.
But if I had to pick one, I would say it would be GK. And I think that's because I think one of the first reasons is that you, even though you don't see each other frequently, I think that you always have a very good time when you see her, and you when I watch you two together, you always laugh a lot, and you
Mm.
very much have the same weird sense of humor. And I also
Dark,
think,
dry.
yeah, and I also think because you see the level of growth in which she's had for
Mm,
herself, even at how is she, like 85 now?
yeah.
Even at 85 years old, she has done a lot of significant growth within like the last 10 years.
I would say that I've seen her grow more as a person in the last probably 7 years than any decade before that.
Yeah. But that's who I would say your favorite living relative would be.
I would agree.
Yeah?
I would agree.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, not to say that I don't like a number of my relatives, but I don't spend a ton of time with family
Mm-hmm.
at this point, and so it's kind of, I very much enjoy different things about the different people in my family.
Yeah.
But to pick like an overall favorite, it's kind of hard not to pick grandmas. If we're honest about it,
That's fair.
like
That's totally fair.
if you gotta pick, is it not gonna be your grandma?
Maybe not. I don't know my grandma. I would not have picked my grandmother.
I wouldn't have picked your
I would
grandmother
have picked my
either.
uncle.
To be fair, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have picked G. Kate. So,
That's also fair. Okay. Okay. So that was kind of one of the first activities on learning a love map. I mean, that was the love map activity, and there are 30 questions to that, which we're not going to cover all of them,
right.
but it is
But you
something.
can see where it's helpful.
Yeah. Oh, I did forget to say too that we had talked about the true or false questions, and there were only five.
Mm.
You can actually find all, I think it's 20 questions on our website at mylovespark.com as the romance factor quiz, because understanding these love maps actually and having a daily knowledge of each other actually is what makes romance versus all of the things that
Mm.
movies and TV
Chocolates
have
and
shown
flowers
us.
and
So if
candy.
you want to take the quiz, go to milovespark.com and scroll down to the bottom. It's on the very first homepage, the very first page or the homepage, and it's the romance factor quiz, and that'll get you those 20 questions.
Nice.
Yeah.
Solid.
Okay. Exercise 2,
So,
asking open-ended questions.
just a random question. Does every principal have multiple exercises?
Yes.
Sweet. All
Yeah.
right. Principle 1, exercise 2.
Okay.
Go.
Asking open ended questions. An open ended question is one that can't be answered with yes or no, or a quick yes or no. Instead, it invites your partner to open up and share his or her experiences, his, her, or their experiences, opinions, and emotions in depth. Asking an open ended question shows genuine interest in your partner's life and inner world. It's important to understand that over time, you can go through all the questions. It can be entertaining and enlightening. So you don't have to do all the questions at once. You can do them all over time. You can actually come back to them as well.
There's what, 29? 29 questions.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a date night every other week, pick one question
Yeah, it gets you
per
through an
date night.
entire year if you do
Yeah, a little more
bi-weekly
than.
date nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so the instructions are at the right is a list of open ended questions in the workbook. There is space for you to record your answers at the end of this exercise if you wish. Each of you choose 4 questions to ask your partner. Take turns being the speaker and the listener. After your partner answers your question, follow up with an additional question of your own that prompts them to expand on their original answer. Now it's your partner's turn to ask you an open ended question from the list below. Continue to alternate. You don't have to limit yourselves to only 4 questions each. So, like I said, you could pick just one question.
Can I pause you there?
Sure.
As you were reading these instructions, though,
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good thing to point out is that as you were reading these instructions, I was like, we do that. We will ask a question and then
Yeah.
we also ask another question as like more open ended to elaborate to get more information, right? To learn a little bit more.
Well, and anytime there is like any little, like, even if it's a word that you use that I'm like, I'm not sure that I think the same meaning with that word,
Mm-hmm.
I'll question it,
Yeah.
and ask more.
My point to that was is that it's something that we naturally do,
Mm-hmm.
and the more that you practice, the more it just becomes natural for you. So like
Mm-hmm.
these are great questions to ask and to practice them frequently because eventually it will become a natural thing for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, build the habit of keeping up with each other's love maps.
Yes. Okay. You want to go first?
Well, you picked questions out already. I didn't pick any questions out.
Oh, okay. Uh so I did pick 4 questions and I tried to go with I tried to alternate between serious and fun.
Okay.
So my first question is question 6. What kind of person do you think our child will become? Any fears, any hopes?
Hmm. What a good question.
I know.
What kind of person? I genuinely believe that when he finds his people, he will be a very good friend to the people who are a good friend to him. I know that friendships have been a bit of a struggle for him, but I
Hmm.
can I can see where he very much wants to be a good friend
Hmm.
to the people in his life.
Yeah.
Um so I think that he will be the type of person that his friends feel they can talk to
Hmm.
pretty freely. Fears or hopes? I guess I do fear a little bit that he will be a little too caught up in trying to find like what he's going to do for the rest of his life that he won't explore jobs that he could just be happy in.
Mm-hmm.
I get the sense that he very much is like trying to find like this is just what I'm going to do for my life instead of recognizing that where he's at at his age, like he
Hmm.
really has a great opportunity right now to do a lot of exploration and like just because you don't know anything about a job, like that's okay. You can
Yeah.
learn. Like if they hire you, they'll teach you.
Yeah.
So I do worry a little bit that he limits his exposure to
Hmm.
things and that it'll hold him back from finding something that works really well for him.
Yeah.
So I worry a little bit about his career trajectory in that way.
I think because we have talked about this before, but I think part of the problem for him is that he is actually risk adverse. And
Yes.
so now that even though he might not like what he's doing or where he's working, he
Hmm.
knows it. And so
Yeah.
it's easier to go to
Comfortable.
that than to risk going to some place that you don't know and then not
Hmm.
really liking it and it being worse than where he's at.
Right. Right. I just mean though, in even the types of jobs that he would apply to,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Um, but I really hope that he is able to conceptualize like what type of daily life really is fulfilling for him, because it's a question I've asked him before that he where he's at in life right now, he has no ability to begin answering that question. And I really want that for him. I really want him to find, because I mean, we don't get to have our ideal day every day,
Yeah.
but it's a lot easier to have it if you know what it is.
True.
And so I really hope for him that he is able to really flush out his idea of what makes him happy
Hmm.
in the day to day.
Yeah.
And I think honestly there's a lot of people that never really do, and I hope that that is not the case for him.
I think that he will. I think he may be like me, where it's just
Mm.
going to take time to
Yeah,
find it.
probably.
But I think he's not going to be able to do that unless he gets comfortable with risk.
Yeah, a little more comfortable with risk.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that he's risk averse. I really appreciate that, and I would
Hmm.
like him to carry. And but, I mean, honestly, most likely he will carry that in to the rest of his life. He will tend to be more risk averse than his peers. It's temperament is genetically predisposed, so
Hmm.
he will be that way for the rest of his life, but I hope that he's able to manage his aversion enough
Yeah.
to take the risks to get what he wants out of life,
Very
for
true.
sure, for
Very true.
sure. But yeah, no, I think he's going to be a good person.
Hmm.
I know that he has some Slytherin characteristics that are a little questionable
That
sometimes,
is also true.
but I think he'll use his powers for good. I very much think he is, as much as his angsty pissiness is on the front all the time. I think he genuinely is a very sweethearted person.
Yeah. I mean, if we're honest about it, there were only like five Slytherins that were awful. The rest of the house wasn't that bad.
Let's be fair, we don't actually know because we didn't get a lot of exposure to a ton of Slytherin. You shush your face.
Okay. Your question.
What are your goals for us as a family, including our son?
In an ideal world, the goals for us as a family would be that Love Spark becomes huge
Mm-hmm.
to a point in which I can employ a lot of people, but also it allows us to live the lives that we want to live. You can be
Mm.
my house butch and you can have the most amazing woodworking shop ever to become an artisan of woodworking.
So you want us to have a trust fund baby child?
Yes.
That
It,
honestly would work so well for him.
I know. uh, but in the long term, um, and I think as a lot of people do, I would like to be able to uh move my mom on property, not in our house, on property in her own mother-in-law suite, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she can make us cookies and cheesecakes and bake and
Help us with our garden.
help us with our gardening and do all the things. And then when I think about him in the context of I want to give him the ability to find his passion in a way that allows him to work doing that passion, right?
Mm.
And I know that he has a lot of fear in not wanting to do art because he won't like it anymore if he has to utilize it as his career.
Mm. Mhm.
He is of the Gen Z generation who feels that way versus being a millennial where I'm like, I want to do what I love to do as my work because then,
Yeah.
as they say, right, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you love to do it, fucking work is work and it'll be annoying sometimes. And you're going to hate
Mhm.
it, whatever, right?
Sure.
Or you'll get frustrated. But ultimately, I think I would love to see him truly find his stride as a person and in his career and a relationship. And I really envision him either having a very healthy relationship and bringing that person home to us for the holidays
Mhm.
or being off and just really exploring the world and enjoying that and then coming back home when it's convenient and going back and doing whatever he's doing. Also, not on all of my money, so he will also be working. Whether that
Ah, so
is
he doesn't get to just be a trust fund
no, he does
baby.
not get to be just a trust fund kid. Whether that is like a oh, what do they call them? Oh, we met a guy in Alaska, my mom and I. He was a traveling guide essentially, and
Mm.
that's all he did is
Tour guide.
he traveled around the country going to different places and was a tour guide in different areas based upon the season, which was super cool. It's like
I mean, think about those guys that taught us how to hang glide. They
exactly.
got their room and board basically paid for, and they just run around on the dunes teaching tourists how to hang glide.
Yeah, and that's like people on Mackinac Island,
Yeah,
right? They stay in the apartments above the shops while they're working there, and they get to
yeah,
party all
a
night
lot.
and a lot.
It's kind of what they do.
That's what they do, right? So, um, when I think about big picture, and I think the other thing is too, is whether you want to or not, I also envision uh us in some capacity working Love Spark together, right? Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
the podcast or being a part of creating the couples retreats and like
Mm-hmm.
helping facilitate that. I
Absolutely.
do see a lot of overlap for us together in that way. Um so like
I'm good at data collection.
please, you can do the spreadsheets. I hate that stuff. Um, so like when I that's how I envision our life, right? And we've talked about this. Like I want to get to a space in 9 years from now where we can build our dream house, where we can build the house that is environmentally sustainable, where we can do our gardening and create a majority of our own food, and then you can do your underground greenhouse, whatever that's called. Yeah.
Wallapini.
Yes, do all of that. So like that is the life that I envision and again, I think that's where my stressors come from is because
Mm.
I we
You're
are
grinding for it.
in some ways living that life right now, but it's not the full big picture yet.
Right. It's not fully realized, but it is getting a foothold.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right.
Okay. Fun question. Oh, you picked a fun question. Okay. So another fun question. If you could instantly possess three new skills, which would you choose?
Mm. Computer fluency
Okay.
instead of just literacy.
Okay.
So,
What does that mean? What does fluency mean to you? Computer fluency.
like, understanding not just how, like, the hardware and software works, but how they communicate with each other, how different softwares are able to engage with each other, you know,
Mhm.
to not necessarily know coding, but at least understand coding conceptually to understand
Mm, mhm.
computers. Like, so the idea would be to be skilled enough and knowledgeable enough in how hardware and software operates that I would never need tech support.
Okay.
So that is a skill.
That's one.
Yes. Um, mm, I want to be able to do pull ups. That's a skill I want to have.
Okay.
I'm working on it currently.
Okay.
Uh,
What is it about pull-ups that why is that like a thing for you?
honestly,
Yes, please, honestly.
that
Just say it. Just say it.
So, like, for me, physical capability is all about being able to get yourself out of situations you don't want to be in
Mhm.
and getting yourself into the situations you do want to be in,
Mhm.
right? And so, the idea that if I were somewhere and I like slipped and fell and just caught, like the edge of something,
Mm.
could I pull myself back up from that?
Mm.
If
Mhm.
I had to climb down somewhere, would I be able to pull myself back up out of it?
Yeah.
I so to me it's like a survival skill that's difficult,
Yeah. I see that.
right? So it's just a strength that I don't have right now. So that would
2.
be my second
Okay.
skill. And then my third skill that
Mhm.
I would love to be able to have would be food foraging
That'd be so fun.
or I guess plant identification, really, right?
Yeah.
Well, no, there's a difference actually, because understanding food forest foraging isn't just about like being able to identify plants. It's
Mm.
also understanding at what point foods are edible, what parts of the plants are
Yeah.
edible, if they have to be cooked or
Mhm.
raw, different that type of thing. So I think those are the three skills that I would really
Okay, and why food foraging?
same reason as skill number 2,
Survival,
survival,
if
yeah.
needed.
But also
It could be
because
fun too.
yeah, like we could just walk in the park and I could get like my food foraging lady on
Oh
Instagram
my
that I
gosh,
watch
she's
all the
so
time. I
fabulous.
love
I love her.
her. Black Forager, I think is her handle. But in any case, I love her and she makes awesome recipes and
Mhm.
like how fun would that
That
be?
would be really fun,
Right?
actually.
So like I think that would be a really cool skill where as life is now would
Mhm.
just be a very fun, very cool skill to have. It'd
Mhm.
also be a really cool skill to be able to teach people,
Oh, right.
but also, if life goes horribly awry, be a really good thing to know.
Very true. I like those.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Yeah.
When we finish recording, I want to know what your answers are.
I can answer that. We can make that the last one where we answer two independent ones and then we can answer the same what the third one is the same question to each of us.
Okay.
Okay. Uh what three new skills would I instantly want to possess? Okay, I'm going to wrap it together and it counts as one. I would like to
Okay.
be fluent in three languages minimum. Spanish.
So you would like the ability or you would like to have the skill of language learning.
I mean, I guess. I
You want to
mean,
be a polyglot.
I
Got it.
guess a what?
Polyglot?
Oh, cool. Yeah, I guess. I mean, well, okay. The first question is like when we say the skill of language learning, are we talking about how long does that take? Right? To me, knowing another language is a skill, and being able to be fluent in it is a skill. Not even just
Okay.
learning it, but knowing it, like
Fair.
being
But
fluent.
you want 3,
But I want three.
but only as one skill. That is so you. This is the most you thing you've done so far today, but it is only 8:30, so
Okay, it's 11:30, but anyway. Okay,
it's
so we could
Saturday
say
and 11:30 is 8:30.
fair enough. So we could say language learning is a skill, right? But that would be one. And I
Mhm.
guess you're right. If I pick that as language learning itself, it would make it easier to travel the world because I would then be able to more quickly learn the language in which I was visiting, of the country in which I was visiting. So fair enough. But that would be one for sure.
Fair. That
Also,
was almost one of mine.
should life go awry in the context, that would be a very good like skill to have,
True.
right?
True.
Um, the second skill that I would like to have is to be able to play the piano and
Mm.
beautifully.
Mm.
Um, no, for no other reason than just pure enjoyment. Just pure enjoyment.
Okay.
Yeah. There's just so like out of all of the musical instruments that could possibly be learned. I do love the cello, it's very beautiful,
Mhm.
but just there's something about piano music that just it makes my heart happy.
Fair.
Yeah.
Pianos are pretty.
Yeah. Mechanics.
Mm.
I was thinking it would be cool to be able to fly a plane. I thought that would be really cool. But I was
Mm.
like, but I think mechanics would be cool. Just to be able to understand
Mhm.
the mechanics of basically anything. Because I mean, I am not a mechanically inclined person, but I feel like a vast majority of mechanics are in some ways the same, right?
Mhm.
There's the foundational or fundamental components to mechanics that lie in everything,
Right.
from a motorcycle to a car to a snowblower to a
Yeah.
whatever. So I think that would be cool to be able to have the ability to fix things and repair things at your own leisure.
At your leisure.
Yes. Okay. So we've got those, right? We've got
Yes.
understanding all of that. And then exercise 3 is who am I? And so so as we move through this, right, we are focusing on each other, learning a little bit more about each other and what it is that you like, what don't you like, all those different things. But now
Mhm.
we get into the space of I need to do some self reflection and learn a little bit more about myself. So, what questions should I be asking myself to really do
Mhm.
that? And exercise 3 does that for us.
Yes. So, to continue exploring each other's worlds at an even deeper level, see the section titled Who Am I in your 7 Principles book, which covers topics including triumphs and strengths, injuries and healing, emotional worlds, mission and legacy, and who you want to become. This section is designed to both guide you through some self exploration and helps share your exploration with your partner. So, the very first part of the Who Am I section is my triumphs and strengths. What are some areas in your life that you are particularly proud of? Personal triumphs, challenges met. So it does say that you can read through each question on page 63 of the 7 Principles book and answer here.
So, essentially, it's not only just asking that question, but then it dives a little bit, it's a little bit more detailed in asking the question in relation to other things.
Right. So, like, when I filled this out, I actually did not go to the questions in the
I
book. I just really took the question of what am I proud of? What are my personal triumphs and challenges met? If that's too generalized for you or a little too vague, and you need a little bit more lead in to answer, one of the questions on page 63 for the triumphs and strengths, sorry. What has happened in your life that you are particularly proud of? Write about your psychological triumphs, experiences that exceeded your expectations, periods when you came through trials and tribulations even better off. How have these successes shaped your life? How have they affected the way you think of yourself and your capabilities? How have they influenced your goals and the things you strive for? And it goes on to ask more and get a little bit
Yeah,
more in depth, but if you need more of a lead into that question, it is you can refer back to the book.
very good.
So, would you like to answer? What are some areas in your life that you're particularly proud of?
Okay.
Any personal triumphs?
So, I did actually just I think I did go pretty into detail on these answers. And so I'll just read it and then if we want to discuss we can. I am most proud of having actively sought personal growth and adding that as a value.
Mm,
When I look back at my family's dynamics during childhood, I know that joy, happiness, prosperity, and lack of suffering is because of this. Um, so the ultimately from my childhood, the reason that there was not a lot of joy and there was not a lot of happiness or prosperity and there was a lot of suffering was because there were personal growth was not a value of the
mm,
family. And
no.
so for me, this is a personal value that I created, which has in return given me the opposite. It has allowed me to find joy and happiness and prosperity and a lack of suffering to some extent because of that. Every accomplishment, every sought after opportunity for challenging myself, the confidence I carry is because of this. A few examples: um, saying yes to army life, becoming a
Mm.
cop, proudly being an intimacy consultant while others laughed about it, starting 3 businesses,
Mm.
accepting the fact, accepting the facts to close a business, and then most importantly, the way I chose to parent.
Mm.
While I wasn't perfect, so much of how I chose to do so was because of that. How I
Mm.
became my and how I overcame my mental health struggles was another big one. Things
Nice.
that I was proud of.
Nice, baby. Those are all very solid. And I also wrote that first one down. So
What one?
the
Growth?
commitment to personal
Oh,
growth.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
FYI, this is the first time we're actually sharing these
Yes, we
together.
did not
So,
share these before this recording
okay, so what
of
were
it.
yours?
So, um, I did mine kind of in not really chronological order, but it doesn't matter. Um, Survival, which I know seems like a weird thing to be proud of, but I am genuinely proud of myself for making it through adolescence. The major depression and suicidal ideation that I went through for 6 years of my adolescence was incredibly difficult. And the fact that I was able to not only survive through all of that and, make it through, but I made it through. I wouldn't say I thrived, but I definitely I survived in a way that my struggles didn't show,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very proud of that in a lot of ways that I have made it here
Yeah,
because there's a lot of ways that I could have not.
right.
Um, Completing my associate's degree,
Mm-hmm.
uh, it took a lot of returns to school to do so, and being a mature student at a community college, getting a 2 year degree is not a point of pride for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I think that when you're in that position and you make it through, you shouldn't discount the amount of effort
Mm-hmm.
that it took just because of it only being community college or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of that. Uh, I'm also really proud of my personal transformation when I embrace my career potential.
Mm-hmm.
I really, my ability to stand up for myself,
Mm-hmm.
my ability to lead a team,
Mm-hmm.
my ability to say no, to stand strong in my own ethics and morals in
Mm-hmm.
a professional capacity. Those were all very hard won lessons that, I had to go through a lot of uncomfortable situations to learn how capable I really was.
Yeah.
And I think that was honestly, it was a very trying time,
Yeah.
but it also resulted in a lot of my own personal growth, which was the next thing, personal growth due to my own commitment.
Mm-hmm.
I have been committed for a really long time. I mean, I've spent the last 20 years committed to personal growth, genuinely. I committed myself to that in high school when I was still struggling through everything. And I think my commitment to personal growth is part of why I survived.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, I look around and see so many people who I am who I am, or that use victimhood as their own identity,
Yeah.
or, and it just makes me really glad that I have made the decision to not stop growing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be a flower, I want to be a tree.
Yeah.
you know?
I will say, I don't think that we would be together if that wasn't something that you had expressed when we first started dating. Because to me,
Mm.
it is one of the most unattractive qualities
Oh,
of a person is somebody
yes.
who is unwilling. And it's not even unwillingness. I think somebody who is not intentional about their
Mm.
own personal growth.
Yeah.
Because, like, I get people grow out of circumstance and they might be
Mhm.
able to recognize that. But to have somebody who intentionally does that is very,
Yes.
very attractive to me.
Yeah?
Yeah,
You think it's sexy?
I do think it's sexy.
Oh, well, all right then. And then my house in Saranac, my first flip home.
Yeah.
You know, that was my first home purchase, and it was a shit show and a half when I bought that place. A lot worse than when you saw it the first time, believe it or not. And you know, but I worked really hard on that place. I
Mhm.
spent a lot of time and a lot of money on it, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. Not just how it physically turned out from the work that I did, but also how it turned out financially. It
Mhm.
turned, the whole thing just turned out really well.
That's awesome. Can I tell you one of the things that I didn't add on here, but I did answer one time at a networking event? I listed being proud of my divorce.
Nice.
And I know that for a lot of people, it is a very shameful thing.
Mm,
And when I think about it, I don't think there was ever any point in time that I felt shame about getting divorced.
good.
But I did answer that because it was such a lonely marriage. It was
Mm,
so lonely.
yeah.
And to just finally recognize that there, and the circumstances of why we got divorced is a whole nother thing. But ultimately, at the end, realizing that it was what was supposed to happen because I
Yeah.
couldn't even imagine. And actually, I that's part of one of the things with one of my other answers, actually leading up to that. So, but yeah, that was one thing I didn't add in here that I had
Mm,
forgotten about, but I did answer that at a meeting
yeah.
once.
Sometimes ending something is the only way to start on the right path.
As they say, every end brings a new beginning.
So true. So true. All right. So the next section of exercise 3, yes,
Hmm.
of Who Am I? My injuries and healing. What are areas of significant difficulty, disappointment, despair, or hopelessness in your life?
Mm. The most notable injuries for me were childhood molestation, which deeply impacted my first marriage and probably much of my teenage years for sure.
Mm,
I'm sure that was probably one of the underlying reasons that I was wilding out as hard as I did for a while.
yeah.
Um, yeah. And so, in actually following up with what I had just said, I also overcame I also overcame dealing with suicidal ideation in early 2018, which I believe was depression exacerbated by the sadness and loneliness I felt in my previous marriage.
Mm,
I never actually really talked about it with him, but sought help because I knew I couldn't leave our son alone with an absent father either.
mm,
So I began a meditation regimen that I still do today, and also began consistent therapy in conjunction with medication.
mm,
And so when I look back at things, I often, and I still ask this question: does depression um, create your circumstances, or do your circumstances create depression? I
mm.
feel like it's a mix of both sometimes, and I
Absolutely.
do feel like it could be one or the other as
Yeah.
well. I don't think there is any final answer to that. Um, but those were I think those were the hardest times, and there becomes a point in time when you're in a relationship like that where you know it.
Mm,
Like you can see it, and then
yeah.
whether or not you choose to do something about it is another matter, right? And for me, I saw it. I saw it for a very long time, and I chose to ignore it
Yeah.
and maintained hope, right?
Mm,
And also became the only person putting in the effort. And then it went from trying to fix a marriage to fix a person who didn't want to be fixed.
Right.
And
Right.
so, yeah, in 2018, uh, it was really interesting because we had just gone to Vegas.
Mm.
Kathy had won a free trip to Vegas from Pure Romance, and she got
Mm-hmm.
to take somebody, and she
Took you.
took me. And it was an okay trip. Vegas is not a place I would ever go back to. Um,
But they have one of the top 10 water parks in the United
Maybe I would go
States.
back, but what we did there, I was like, this is Vegas. So I would like to go back, and also it was a conference too. So I think I
Oh,
would like to
well.
go back and try experience Vegas differently. But I just remember coming home, and while I was there, even though we didn't do a lot, I remember thinking how cool it was to be able to just see Vegas. It's Vegas, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was a piece of me that was a little sad because I knew we had the financial capability to have done a Vegas trip. We
Sure.
had a financial capability to do fucking a lot of things,
Mm-hmm.
and we just never did. And it was very
Mm.
sad. And then, and then you're there, and there's the lights, and you're with the sisterhood, and you're just doing all the things. And I remember coming home, and when I just stepped into the house, I could feel the difference.
The
I could
weight.
feel the weight of what was there.
Mm.
And that's really where it hit the hardest.
Mm.
The depression and the suicidal ideation and the thought of this is my life. This is it.
Mm.
All
Yeah.
there is. It's never gonna get any better. So I did a emergency phone call to my doctor and did all the things, and here we are.
I'm glad.
Me too.
All right. My injuries and healing. Uh, so I am in therapy currently. So some of the stuff that I put was very related to my current
Mm-hmm.
therapies. So feeling responsible for my own pain and suffering is fairly recent emotional discovery that I have very much learned that anytime I am hurt, whether that's a physical hurt or an
Mm-hmm.
emotional hurt, that it is not only my fault that I am hurt, but that it is solely my responsibility to get the hurt to stop,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and I think that it's it's very difficult to put into words why
Mm-hmm.
that's so harmful.
Mm-hmm.
But, if someone kicks you in the shin and your first response is like, well, I don't want to yell at them because I might hurt their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to cause more issues for me. And that's just going to make this whole thing worse.
Yeah.
Like, I'm already in pain. If I say anything about the fact that somebody just gave me this pain, I'm just going to be in more pain.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the reason I struggle so much to reach out for help.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's part of the reason why I struggle to share my negative feelings. I think it's why I get so anxious when I don't know what's wrong
Mm-hmm.
because I automatically assume it's my fault,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a false belief that's been instilled in me that's very difficult
Mm-hmm.
to live with.
Yeah.
Um I also struggle with lifelong depression. Mine is, from all accounts, been considered chemical.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know that I will ever really get away from depression. If I'll ever really, I mean, even when I'm not in a depressive episode,
Mm-hmm.
I still have dysthymia, which is just basically like a low grade constant depression
Mm-hmm.
that my brain just lives in. So, as far as an area of significant difficulty, disappointment, despair, hopelessness, I think the struggle for me really is when the depression hits me really hard. It's very difficult to understand that it'll be a lifelong struggle
Yeah.
forever. I will never escape it.
Yeah.
Um and then family dysfunction.
Mm.
Obviously, we're going through some family dysfunction
Mhm.
right now. I know as our listeners, you are unaware yet. At, well, at this point, you're unaware, but as Tanya and I prepared for our wedding, as many weddings do, it stirred up quite the family
We
drama.
almost made it too.
Oh,
We were only 3 months out.
90 days to go, and I
Yeah.
just had to say something. Just
Yeah.
had to ask.
Here's the thing, even though that we're still dealing with this, and I say it that way because it did not need to be what it was and what it has
It
become.
still doesn't need to be
It
what
still
it
don't need to be
is.
that. But as we're dealing with this, I will say that's one of the things that I thought about on the day of the wedding, that I didn't really think about the situation most of the day.
Right.
But when we came in and I looked around the room and saw the people that were there,
Mm-hmm.
I was happy that you had that conversation.
Yes. Yeah.
Just because of all the people that we had in the room, and then our good friend E, they are in the process of transitioning, and ugh,
Looked so
fabulous,
fabulous.
killer dress, them legs though.
I know. What did I say? What did I say? I knew them legs were going to look good too. You don't get to be all tall and thin like that and
I
not have
know.
fabulous
The
legs.
fact that he was basically wearing the same dress as fucking Joyce,
That was pretty funny,
or they
actually.
were wearing the same dress as Joyce, that was fabulous.
Yes, it was great.
You know what I find interesting about this question though
Hmm.
is that I looked at it from a past perspective and you looked at it from a current perspective. And when you really read the question, I think it is a current perspective, honestly.
Well, I mean, I'm currently in process of healing through these injuries, right? So that's kind of how I looked at it. Like,
Yeah.
this is what's current in my love map.
If I think that if I had looked at it from a current perspective, I think the biggest area that I struggle with is self-doubt
Mm,
and feelings of worthiness and not being enough.
for me?
No.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Oh, no. No, no. Not for you. I never feel that way with you.
Good. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
All right. So, my emotional world. So, this is the next section of exercise 3 for principle 1, just in case anyone has gotten lost in all this conversation. So, we're getting into our inner worlds pretty deep now. What is your experience of expressing feelings both in the past and presently? How do you and your partner compare or differ in your expression of emotion? Now, I'm actually going to answer this one first. So, I I'm going to answer this one first because if to me it just goes along with the family dysfunction.
Fair enough.
So I in the past have often had my words twisted so that in times of any heightened emotion, I have a nearly pathological need to be clear. I get very quiet and very careful with my words, very particular about how I speak because what I have communicated in the past has been weaponized against me so efficiently and effectively that I am constantly in an internal battle of how do I say what I need to say in a way that is as harmless to me as possible or to the person I'm speaking
Which
to.
I find very fascinating because when we're having conversations and I am being very conscientious and thoughtful of what I'm saying and how I say it or what I'm about to say,
Yes.
you always go, just say it. It's not going to hurt my feelings. We'll work it out. We'll work it out together.
Well, yeah.
I
But
know,
because I'm always expected to be the person who understands, so like, of course I would understand.
but my point to that is that you don't do that because you
No.
just said that you are very thoughtful and conscientious about what you say. And so I
Yes.
just find it interesting.
That I can't do what I tell you to do all the
Yes.
time? Weird. Neither of us are ever guilty of that. No, you're not wrong.
Wait, you couldn't even say it.
What? That
You're
you're
like, you're, instead of being like, you're right, you're like, you're not wrong.
well, you're not. Anyway, I also said that Tanya is better at emoting more freely.
Mm,
I think I
truth.
get
Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way for you. For me, I'm like, yeah,
oh,
I should
yeah.
probably reel that in.
I like that you don't, but yes, I think that I am probably much more emotionally reserved than I think that I am,
Hmm.
because to me, my feelings are so big that they feel really obvious, but I forget how much time I spend being reserved about the internal feelings.
Yeah.
So I sometimes wonder if I actually have any concept whatsoever about how little I emote.
Mm,
I think that might actually be an issue.
that could possibly be an issue, but I see why you went first and why you put it in there after. Yeah, what's
But
all the family things that are happening right now. But
yeah.
what I find fascinating is the beginning where you talked about like how everything was always your fault and so on and so forth.
Mm.
Because in hearing how therapy sessions are going,
Mm.
I go, I can see how this became to pass, how this came to pass.
Ah, and it all becomes clear now.
Yes.
You're
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ, no wonder you're like this. Yeah, I didn't have another option.
Yeah.
I'm doing what I can here. It's
I
fucking
mean,
struggle.
truthfully, to understand the way in which you've shared your feelings
Mm.
with your family member
Mm-hmm.
and how that has been
Weaponized and
weaponized, manipulated, misconstrued over the course of fucking, what are we in, 9 months now or some shit,
mm,
how that would be your normal way of operating at home back as a kid and as a teen.
yeah,
Totally get it.
yeah.
So, my emotional world, what is your experience of expressing feelings both in past and present and presently? How do you and your partner compare or differ in your expression of emotion? Learning how to express my feelings, but also not carry shame about my human experiences was huge.
Mm.
Before, I didn't feel like I could share my feelings or that I had to hide not being okay. As a child, the only emotion I was really allowed to feel was anger within the extended family dynamics. And that was really the only emotion I saw was a lot of anger within the extended
Mm.
family dynamics. Between my mom and I, there were a lot of hugs and care with saying I love you, but feelings of sadness I could see, but were never acknowledged. So a
Mm.
lot of times I could tell when my mom was upset, sad, or stressed, but it wasn't something that she actually talked about.
Mm.
Um, and so that was something we didn't really cover. And then I do remember also a lot of times as a kid when I would cry or I got in trouble or spanked or whatever, right? There would be, keep crying, I'll give you something more to cry about.
Mm.
Very common phrase within
Such an 80s
such a
parenting
fucking
trope.
80 parenting trope, right? But I think in general, I think we both do an excellent job of sharing and expressing our emotions to others and one another. The way that we process emotions are different, but we still come together to share.
Yeah.
So while you feel like you might not be emotive, I can tell when you aren't feeling happy or when you're sad or whatever.
You're
But
very emotionally intelligent, though,
yeah, I
which
guess.
works so well for me, honestly. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Bless the goddess. I think that we do still have a very good level of connection where we come together and we do talk about those things.
Yeah.
I think presently I do well with sharing my emotions about everything else unless it pertains to you.
Mm.
And then I'm a little bit more reserved because I don't. want to hurt your feelings, or I'm not necessarily certain exactly what it is that I might be frustrated or upset about.
Mm.
So I have to think about what it is. And then I always find that I try to differentiate, is it really you or is it something else? But whatever has happened, whatever was said, done, or whatever, is that's just exacerbating a feeling that I'm already having that actually isn't about you.
Mm.
And so there are a lot of times that I just always double check to make sure that what
Yeah.
I'm feeling is what I'm feeling and it's not because of something else,
Yeah.
or
That's
why
fair.
what I am feeling is what it is.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I've gotten pretty good about like a couple of weeks ago when we were in bed and you we had gotten in spoon position and ready to fall asleep, and then all of a sudden I could just tell that you were crying, and I asked you why, and you were like, I don't know, and then you were like, I'm just so angry, and I was like, at me or at what? And you were like, yeah, but also. And so like you were annoyed with me about something, about not having been good about meal prepping for us, which super fair, extremely reasonable, valid.
Hmm.
You were right. I was not doing a very good job. Totes not holding on my end of the deal. But then you also went on to say that the things that were really bothering you, the other feelings that were really
Hmm.
filling you up that just didn't give you space to deal with being annoyed with me.
Yeah.
And as much as I didn't like hearing that you were mad at me, I was glad that you were at least able to tell me
Hmm.
and start opening up about it. It didn't feel good that you were mad at me, but it felt a lot better than having no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that because I know it is something that you very much do struggle to share with me when you are upset with me.
Hmm. And we've been together for 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
going on 6. And out of 5 years, there are very few times that I'm actually frustrated and upset with you. And so I think I have a difficult time expressing that because in my past relationship, that would turn into a fight. It would be
Mm,
internalized as I'm not good enough, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And instead of hearing what I needed
right,
as their partner, it would be about them and what
right.
they weren't doing. And then it would just turn into a fight. And then nobody was happy.
So
And
you would say, hey, I don't like this behavior. And he would say, oh, so you don't like me?
um
That kind of thing.
kinda, the response was always more so a, but here is what I'm doing, so why does it matter that you're upset about this? And kind of
Mm,
one of those things.
ah, like that text message I got the other day about all the wonderful things.
Yes.
Why don't all the good things that I do act as an eraser for all the things that hurt you?
Yes.
Because that's not how feelings work.
Exactly. Yeah, and so
Fair.
I think because of that, from having that experience and still being very timid in sharing because that is what
Mm,
the response would be, and to the fact that we actually don't have a lot of conflict frequently, maybe once a year, if that,
I guess it
or
makes it hard to practice and get comfortable.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair.
Thank
Super
you.
fair.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
All right, so the next section, which there's only two sections left. So, who am I? My mission and legacy. What is the purpose of your life? What is your mission statement?
I'd like to have you
Those
respond first.
those are big questions.
Hmm.
But yeah, okay. My purpose in life is to have a positive impact on the world and those I interact with.
Hmm.
And my mission statement is to leave a legacy of caring, compassion, and kindness.
Hmm. Did you have like anything specific in mind when you were writing those?
No,
No.
I mean, I just want to do the most good that I can in the time that I have.
Okay. I appreciate that.
You know me, I keep it simple. I don't know what else to say. I mean,
You know me, I do not. Here we go.
no, you don't. You're so. I love how you're over there like, is that it? And I'm over here like, oh, yeah. Why? Is that not enough?
It's if it's enough for you, then it's enough.
Okay. All right.
I don't say that to be mean. I just understand that I have a level of ambition that very few people do.
I guess to me, like, I have a different goal every 2 to 5 years.
Mm,
So, like, the culmination of all
mhm.
of those things, that's what I'm looking for, is to have a positive, even flipping the first house. To me, that's having a positive impact on the world because I took something that was basically trash and made it into a warm, wonderful home for somebody to live in.
Yeah.
So, you know, the what I would call smaller projects,
So the
I just didn't list them.
totality
Yes, the
of what you
totality
do.
of my life, that's what I'm looking at.
Okay. I appreciate that.
I know you're going to give me your next 2 to 5 years in detail. That's why
Also, why you
that's why I wanted to specify that. That's why it's so general for me because I was looking at a whole life.
also why you went first.
Fair.
But no, not 2 to 5 years. So here's what I wrote.
Excuse me.
Now,
2 to
first of all,
10.
I'm going to address something before I say this. And I hope by now, if people have gotten to know us a little bit, that they realize we are very kind, caring people who are, especially myself, is highly opinionated and may not agree with other people's choices, but can respect most of the time other people's choices. That is
Okay.
to say that I recognize for some people, being a parent is your legacy.
Mm,
Okay. That for you, creating a functional, productive, positive member of society is your legacy. And I respect that. It is not for me, but I respect it. So therefore, when I say my legacy, I hope people will respect that mine is not that. Okay. I want to create and leave a legacy of love through Kieran and the gifts he leaves and gives the world, and with Love Spark. The depth and vastness of the loneliness I experienced in my last marriage was so painful. I want to be a guide for other couples to help change that or prevent it. For me, it also means entering and changing systems, which includes our school systems and
mhm.
what it is that we teach and how that's going to be important and impactful, and some of the ways in which that needs to change to create a legacy of love.
Nice.
Oh,
Very, I really like that.
oh thanks, baby.
I like that it is somehow simultaneously extremely specific and yet general.
Yeah,
But like in the perfect way that it will remain an easy vision to keep in mind.
yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I respect it. Nice. Okay. Last bit.
Mm-hmm.
Who I want to become. Who is the person you want to become? What areas must you overcome to make this person a reality?
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. I am becoming the truest, best version of myself while being the CEO of a lifestyle and life changing worldwide brand. The biggest areas I need to overcome are creating and following systems, discipline, and what did I say earlier? My own limited feelings of worthiness
Mm,
and validity, I suppose.
mm,
Right? I think that's and I am very well aware that that stems from
mm-hmm.
growing up and where I grew up and how that has integrated and ingrained
Yeah.
itself within my subpsyche, right?
Right.
I get that. I am logically well aware of where and why that is. It's just a matter of changing that thought pattern and that feeling within my body to
Mhm.
understand that I am worthy of all the success that I've ever had and that is going to be here, but also that I am a valid person in what it is that I offer and can offer others.
Mm. Yes. Yes. Solid.
Thanks.
You are well on your way, my love.
Thank you,
Well
baby.
on your way.
Thank you. It has been a lot of work. Bless the universe.
Who is the person you want to become? I want to be a force for good. I need to work on my discipline, my self-assuredness, my confidence, and I need to put myself out there more.
Mm.
So, I think I do a very good job at bringing good into the things that I do,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
When I am at work,
Yeah.
I do the best work that I can do with the best efficiency I can do it to get the
Mm-hmm.
best results that I can. I work in sort of public health. I work in environmental health, but to me, environmental health and public health are inseparable, really. You can't have a healthy public without a healthy environment. Regardless, uh, so the relationships that I have with people, I think I bring good to those,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that I do need to do a better job of being involved in more things. I bring good into everything that I do, but I don't bring myself into very much.
Mm.
Is I think really the hold back to feeling like I don't really feel like a force for good right now just because I my world is very small right now.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Hey, guess what? We're opening
what
that world up real fucking big with this.
that's
Just
true.
want you to know
That
that.
is true. That
Yeah.
is true.
So when you say like a force for good, is there any specific thing or activity that you were thinking of or that you think of when you say that?
No, not really.
Okay.
Just, to me it's such uh it's like oxygen, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we're breathing in air, but how much of the air that we're breathing in is actually oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
right? So like for me, I'm bringing the oxygen to everywhere I go.
Yeah.
I'm just not dispersing it very far,
Okay.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
like I am I am putting it out there. Everything that I do gets saturated
Mm-hmm.
in that,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have had to work very hard to maintain that at work because I'm so unhappy at
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
But I still, even in my interactions with people that I do not enjoy interacting with, I still try to bring good to those interactions.
Yeah.
I still try to have a positive impact on people, whether I want to spend time with those people or not,
Yeah.
right? So to me, it's hard to be specific about anything because I want to be a force for good in the way that it is obvious in
Mm-hmm.
everything and anything that I do. It doesn't have to be something specific because it's there regardless.
Mm. Yeah.
You know.
Okay. That makes sense. Wow. These are actually, I mean, and we do a lot of questions. We do a
Hmm.
lot of conversation, but these are questions I don't think we've ever asked one another, or if
Yeah, not
we have, it's
explicitly,
been a while.
right?
And I really actually appreciate having gone through this because it does give me more insight to you, which is
Yeah,
what love myths are supposed to do.
yeah, and right back at you.
Thanks, baby.
No, I would like to put some final thoughts out there for our listeners about these exercises.
Okay.
I know you have some things to say,
Mm-hmm.
readings from the book, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I just want people to think about how our back and forth worked, right? While we had a lot of discussion, you are 100% allowed to answer the answers the way that you do,
Mm-hmm.
right? You are much more specific in the way that you answer things than I am. And I hope that couples don't get bogged down in the semantics of not answering in the same way,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't matter. It does not matter. For this exercise, how you answer, not important. As the person listening to your partner, how they answer the question, maybe that in itself tells you something about them that you didn't know.
Yeah.
But please do not spend your time in these exercises discussing how you answered them. Really talk about what you said,
Yeah.
what it means. Get into the real content. Don't get bogged down in the semantics, because I see a lot of couples doing that where, well, what do you mean a force for good? What does that even mean? Because you are very specific and I am very not specific,
Mm-hmm.
but we have different goals. So why do
I
we
like
need
that.
to?
I like that you use that example because I actually did ask that to you.
Yeah.
I did ask you that, but
Yeah.
how I asked it was vastly different.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
And that's another thing is
Mhm.
if you do have that question, can you ask it in a way that, because like if I would have said, well, force for good, what does that mean? That sounds very
Not
snarky.
nice.
I was going to say not nice. So I was like, show me something else. It sounds very snarky. It sounds very judgmental
Kind of
and
dismissive.
very dismissive versus,
Certainly not curious.
right? Versus, well, when you say a force for good, do you have an example or something that you were explicitly thinking about when you said that?
Mhm.
That is vastly different than like, what do you mean? Right. And
Right.
so I
But
think
you could ask, what do you mean?
yeah,
Just in a nicer tone.
tone. Yeah, that's very important. So I think it's important to recognize also the fact that that was an open-ended question,
Yeah.
right? So we practiced the open-ended questions. We shared more of our inner world, and I was curious to know if there was anything specific, and so
Mhm.
I asked that question.
Yes.
And so you're very right. How somebody answers is not the point.
Yes. So please keep that in mind. Hopefully listening to us do this exercise gives you some context for how to listen,
Mhm.
because listening really is the hard part,
That's true.
because you got to take it in.
Also very true.
Well,
So a few things, final passage out of the book. For all their power, love maps are only the first step. Happily married couples don't just know each other.
mhm.
They build on and enhance this knowledge in many important ways. For starters, they use their love maps to express not only their understanding of each other, but their fondness and admiration as well. My second principle.
Mm.
So we hope that this has been helpful to especially see, well, not see, but hear what this looks like, or if you're reading it because you are not hearing capable, that's fine too. But what this process looks like as you're going through these and what the conversation could sound like. And
Mm.
just keep in mind if you have your own maybe toxic dynamics right now, then it may take you a little bit longer to answer
Mhm.
these questions and
Very good
have those
point.
conversations. The other thing that's important to keep in mind too is you don't have to answer them all in one sitting, right?
Yes.
You could make this a daily activity. Every night you answer one question and
Mhm.
then you share that question,
Yeah.
right? So just keep in mind that it doesn't all have to be at once, but you should be making steady, consistent progress.
Yeah.
Um,
Stay curious.
Stay curious. Yeah, stick around. We've got a special offer, special things that are coming up that we were going to share with you as well.
Thanks.
Before we end the show, there's a special invitation for you. I want to invite you to join the upcoming Love Spark Focus Group. It's my privilege to guide couples to relationship wellness, but I can only do that by getting honest feedback and discussion about the process. This focus group is free and can only accommodate 50 couples.
We are also looking for couples who would like to join the discussion by being guests on the podcast. So head over to milovespark.com to apply for both opportunities.
As always, thank you for listening. Find us on Instagram or Facebook at LoveSpark Dates. And until next time, listen intently, speak kindly, and cherish each other.
Indeed.